Now we will discuss the critical period hypothesis. Critical period hypothesis basically refers to the time specification as far as language learning is concerned. According to this hypothesis, there is a specific time period during which the language is developed. If that time is passed, then the individual cannot have a complete mastery or command of language. According to this hypothesis, the first few years of life is crucial as far as the language learning or language development is concerned. If language input does not occur during that period, until after this time, the individual will never achieve a full command of language, especially grammatical system. So it is important, according to this hypothesis, that the first few years of one's life is the one in which maximum grammatical structure can be given to a learner so that he or she can develop complete command over a language. Now, if the language input is restricted or is not exposed as far as the learner is concerned, then there is a possibility that the learner will not have a sufficient command or total command over his or her language, whether it's a native language or the second language. So considering the critical period hypothesis, there are certain points. According to them, older learners of a second language rarely achieve the native-like fluency that younger learners display, despite often progressing faster than children in the initial stages. Now, David Singleton states that in learning second language, younger are better in long run, but also points out that there are many exceptions, noting that 5% of adult bilinguals master a second language even though they begin learning it when they are well into adulthood. While the window for learning a second language nearly never completely closes, certain linguistic aspects appear to be more affected by the age of the learner than others. For example, adult second language learners nearly always retain an immediately identifiable foreign accent, including some who display perfect grammar. The pronunciation of speech sounds relies on neuromuscular function. Adults learning a new language are unlikely to attain a convincing native accent since they are past the prime age of learning new neuromuscular functions and therefore pronunciation. Singleton reports that there is no critical period for learning vocabulary in second language because vocabulary is learned consciously using declarative memory. The critical hypothesis in second language acquisition follows a use it then lose it approach, which indicates that as a person ages, excess neural circuitry used during language of L1 learning is essentially broken down. If these neural structures remain intact, they would cost unnecessary metabolic energy to maintain. The structures necessary for L1 use are kept. On the other hand, a second use it or lose it approach dictates if an L2 user begins to learn at an early age and continues on through his age, then his language learning circuitry should remain active. This approach is also known as exercise hypothesis. To conclude, there is much debate over the timing of the critical period with respect to second language acquisition. with estimates ranging between 2 and 13 years of age. These estimates tend to vary depending on what component of language learning processes a researcher considers.